Rule 8. Action to avoid collision. A. Any action taken to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be positive, made in ample time, and with due regard to the observance of good seamanship. B. Any alteration of course and speed to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be large enough to be readily apparent to another vessel, observing visually or by radar. A succession of small alteration of course and speed should be avoided. C. If there is sufficient sea from Rome, alteration of course alone may be the most effective action to avoid a close quarter situation, provided that it is made in good time, is substantial, and does not result in another close quarters situation. D. Action taken to avoid collision with another vessel shall be such as to result in passing at a safe distance. The effectiveness of the action shall be carefully checked until the other vessel is finally passed and clear. A. If necessary to avoid collision or allow more time to assess the situation, a vessel shall slacken her speed or taken off by stopping or reversing of means for population. If 1. A vessel which by any of these rules is required not to impede the passage of safe passage of another vessel shall, when required by the circumstances of the case, take early action to allow sufficient sea room for the safe passage of the other vessel. 2. A vessel required not to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel is not relieved of this obligation of approaching the other vessel, so as to involve risk of collision, and shall, while taking action, have full regard to the action which may be required by the rules of this ship of this part. 3. A vessel the passage of which is not to be impeded remains fully obliged to comply with the rules of this part when the two vessels are approaching one another, so as to involve risk of collision. Rule 9. Narrow channels. A. A vessel proceeding along the course of a narrow channel or fairway shall keep as near to the outer limit of the channel or fairway which lies on her starboard side as is safe and practicable. B. A vessel of less than 20 meters in length or a sailing vessel shall not impede the passage of a vessel which can safely navigate only within a narrow channel or fairway. C. A vessel engaged in fishing shall not impede the passage of any vessel navigating with a narrow channel or fairway. D. A vessel shall not cross a narrow channel or fairway if such crossing impedes the passage of a vessel which can safely navigate only within such channel or fairway. The later vessels may use the sound signal prescribed in Rule 34D if dubbed as is to the intention of the crossing vessel. E. 1. In narrow channel or fairway, when overtaking can take place only if the vessel to be overtaken has to take action to permit safe passing. The vessel intending to overtake shall indicate their intention by sounding the appropriate signal prescribed in Rule 34C number 1. The vessel to overtaking shall, if in agreement, sound the appropriate signal prescribed in Rule 34C number 2, and take steps to permit safe passing. If in doubt, she may sound the signals prescribed in Rule 34D. 2. This rule does not relieve the overtaking vessel of her obligation under Rule 13. If a vessel nearing a bend or an area of a narrow channel or fairway where other vessels may be obscured by an intervening obstruction shall navigate with particular alertness and caution and shall sound the appropriate signal prescribed in Rule 34A. G. Any vessel shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, avoid anchoring in a narrow channel. Rule number 10. Traffic separation schemes. A. This rule applies to traffic separation schemes adopted by the organization and does not relieve any vessel of her obligation under any other rule. B. A vessel using a traffic separation scheme shall 1. proceed in the appropriate traffic lane in the general direction of traffic flow for that lane. 2. So far as practicable, keep clear of a traffic separation line or separation zone. 3. Normally join or leave a traffic lane at the termination of the lane, but when joining or leaving from either side shall do so at a small an angle to the general direction of traffic flow as practicable. C. A vessel shall, so far as practicable, avoid crossing traffic lanes, but of obliged to the shall cross on a heading as nearly as practicable at right angles to the general direction of traffic flow. D. 1. A vessel shall not use in inshore traffic zone when she can safely use the appropriate traffic lane within the adjacent traffic separation stream. However, vessels of less than 20 meters in length, sailing vessels and vessels engaged in fishing may use the inshore traffic zone. 2. Notwithstanding, subparagraph D1, a vessel may use in shore traffic zone when a route to or from a port, offshore installation or structure, pilot station or any other place situated within the inshore traffic zone or to avoid immediate danger. A. A vessel other than a crossing vessel or a vessel joining or leaving a lane shall not normally enter a separation zone or cross a separation line except 1. In case of emergency to avoid immediate danger. 2. To engage in fishing within a separation zone. F. A vessel navigating in areas near the terminations of traffic separation. Ship shall do so with particular caution. G. A vessel shall, so far as practicable, avoid anchoring in traffic separation shim or in areas near its termination. H. A vessel not using a traffic separation shim shall avoid it by as wide a margin as practicable. I. A vessel engaged in fishing shall not impede the passage of any vessel following a traffic lane. G. A vessel of less than 20 meters in length or a sailing vessel shall not impede the safe passage of a power-driven vessel following a traffic lane. K. A vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver when engaged in an operation from the maintenance of safety of navigation in a traffic separation scheme is exempted from complying with this rule to the extent necessary to carry out the operation. L. A vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver when engaged in an operation for the laying, servicing, or picking up of a submarine cable within a traffic separation scheme is exempted from complying with this rule to the extent necessary to carry out the operation. Rule number 11. Application. Rule this section apply to vessel this side of one another. Rule 12. Sailing vessels. A. When two sailing vessels are approaching one another so as to involve risk of collision, one of them shall keep out of the way of the others as follows. 1. When each has the wind on a different side, the vessel which has the wind on the port side shall keep out of the way of the another. 2. When both have the wind on the same side, the vessel which is to windward shall keep out of the way of the vessel which is to leeward. 3. If a vessel with the wind on the port side sees a vessel to windward and cannot determine with certainty whether the other vessel has the wind on the port or on the starboard, she shall keep out of the way of the other. B. For the purposes of this rule, the windward side shall be deemed to be the side opposite to that on which the mainsail is carried, or in the case of secured ride, vessel the side opposite to that on which largest force and aft sail is carried.